Well, the reason I started running, I was in Glasgow in 1984, and I was watching the Glasgow Marathon going by, and I seen Katie McGilvery from Banbecula running in it, and I said to myself, well, if Katie can do it, I can do it. So the following year, 1985, I did the Glasgow Marathon for the first time, and I raised over £800 for cancer research.
Wow.
So the following year, I decided to do a couple of half marathons, and I did the Glasgow Marathon again, and I did it nearly an hour faster than my first one. And after that, I started doing marathons all over Scotland, you know, and carried on from there, and then I went to New York 3 times, and I went to Berlin once, Paris once, Benidorm once, and I've done the Malta Marathon 10 times, and I've done London 17 times, and I've done the Glasgow 30 times. I only missed it once because last year I had a broken leg, so it was the only time I missed it. So up to now, in 30 years, I've done 459 races. That's counting them all, and some of them were long distance races. I've run the West Highland Way 7 times, and I've done the 52 miles to Tyndrum 14 times, and I did the 2 bridges, Force and Kincarden. I did that one 11 times. That was 36 miles, and all the other half marathons. I got a few prizes over the years, but I was 49 actually when I did my first race, and so I think by now I'm down to walking stage because I broke my leg about 18 months ago, and I can only walk now, plus my age's against me, you know. This photo here this is me finishing the New York Marathon, this one, and the one above it is finishing the Malta Marathon. And the one to the side here is one of the times I finished the West Highland Way. I was the first old age pensioner ever to run it. I had done it a few times previous to that. And the one down here, that was me in New York in 1991, and this is Liz McColgan with me. She won actually the New York Marathon that year. Now down here, this was a marathon in Slough, and I didn't win that, although I'm on my own there, you know. Now we did the London Marathon twice for the PDSA, and I got this trophy from Princess Alexandra. At the time, me and my pal, we only had to do the run. They collected all the money, you know, and I think they gathered quite a lot. Now, all these trophies here, I got this one in Malta when I was 70. And this one here was in Argyll when I was 60, I think I got that one. I got this one in Fort William when I was 50. And I got this one again in Malta. And this one again in Fort William when I was 70. And this is one of my London Marathon pictures when I finished. And this is another Malta trophy. I've got 5 of them altogether. This picture here was at the PDSA, not the PDSA, sorry, at the Cancer Research Office in Glasgow when I was handing in my sponsorship money. And I ran the Glasgow Marathon for them 12 times, and I collected over 13,000 altogether over that period, you know. This is me and my grandson doing the Glasgow Santa Claus race a couple of years ago. And this is another London Marathon finish one with my tartan kilt on.
Oh, that's great, yes.
And now this one here was in Benidorm. I was a bit faster then than I'm now, you know. Oh, most of the rest are behind me, you know. Or else I'm the last one, I'm not too sure. Now I've got a book here that I kept all the running in. And this was me when I was in the army, when I was 21. And I kept all my races in this book here. And I'm up to 459 races in the 30 years since I started running. Well, this is all my certificates for the Two Bridges race, which was 36 miles, and I think I've got 11 of them here, you know. And this is my certificates for the Malta Marathon. I've got 10 of them. This is my London Marathon medals. I've got 17 of them, but last time I did it was 7 years ago. I was getting a bit old. Now this is my Glasgow Marathon medals. Glasgow was my very first race, and I've only missed it once in 30 years when I broke my leg 18 months ago. So I've got 30 of these. Now, this is all the medals I've run overseas, you know, between New York, Paris, Berlin, Benidorm, Malta, and I think that's about it. I've done Malta 10 times, so I've got 20 altogether from abroad, you know. I broke my leg 16 months ago, so I call these my broken leg year medals. I've got 13 of them, plus the cup in Malta for being the oldest in the Malta Marathon last November. That was a year and 2 months after breaking my leg. Well, this photo I've got here is, I got this when I was in the army, you know. I went into the army when I was 18, and I signed on for 3 years. And I got into the Duke of Edinburgh trophy when I was in the army, and they picked 10 out of the regiment, and the 10 of us won the trophy out of all the regiments in the British Army. So the battalion got this cup here, and we all got this wee medal from the Duke. This was our Cameron Highlanders team for the Duke of Edinburgh. I can't really remember all the names now, but this fella here was Cooper. I can't mind his first name, but he won the gold medal, so he was the best out of the whole British Army. Well, I'm going to tell you the story of how I broke my leg. It's 18 months ago. My neighbour up the road had 2 sheep on this wee island, and he was wanting me to give him a hand to take them off the island with my wee boat. We went to this wee island to take the sheep, put the sheep on the boat, you know. And we got one of them on the boat, and my neighbour tied it up, which he was used to be tying sheep for years. Then when we went up to try and catch the other one, the first one had got loose and jumped out of the boat. Then I was on top of this cliff, and I was putting out my shepherd's crook to try and catch it, and I lost my footing, and the next thing I knew I was down at the bottom of the cliff shouting for help, and I knew right away my leg was broken, you know. The surgeon told me if I hadn't been so fit with my running, he would need to have put my leg in a plaster. And he says, I'd be lying in that bed. You'll be lying in that bed, he says, for 3 months. and that could be bad news at your age. But he says to me, don't you worry, he says, I'll have you on your feet within 24 hours. And the physiotherapist came to the bed the next morning and told me to get up. But I was 7 weeks in the house going around with a simmer. But it took a long time, but it eventually came okay. So I've got a big pin in it, you know, and it'll be there forever, you know. Well, this is actually the fastest marathon I did was in London in 1992. There's 3 hours 17 minutes on the clock, but I lost 11 minutes at the start. So I actually did it in 3 hours and 6 minutes. I was trying for 3 hours, but I think I went too fast at the first half, because the first half I was under 1:30, and obviously I slowed down a bit the last few miles, you know.
Yes.
But I think I was about 55 at the time.
Do you think it's helped you to stay fit?
Oh yeah, yes, actually my running, you know, helped me to stay fit.
And how much practice did you
Well,
have to do?
Actually, the first few years when I was practicing for the West Highland Way, I used to go out in the morning before I went to work and do 4 or 5 miles, and then I would do the same at night. And if I wasn't working at the weekend, I used to do anything up to 40 miles on a Saturday and Sunday, you know.
Wow.
And there was 3 years in a row, I think it was 91, 92, 93. I went close on 7,000 miles in the 3 years. That was counting all my jogging, running and races, you know. And I never really kept to any diet, you know. I just took my normal food, you know. And some people used to ask me, what do you take before you go out on a run? And I used to say, just a big pan of greasy sausages. To be honest, I never kept to any diet, but I think, you know, when you're fit and you're doing a lot of training, I think you can really eat anything, you know. But then again, I think some people, no matter what they eat or don't eat, they don't get fat anyway, you know. I stopped training a few years ago, actually, because I knew then, well, I'm lucky to be able to do the run, but I really, for the last 2 or 3 years, I've really only been walking them. I can still walk quite fast, but I can't really run now, you know. Well, about my long distance running at that, when I did this London Marathon in 3 hours and 6 minutes, I was 55, so I'll never know if I'd have been a good runner, because I was too old when I started. Maybe not.
Out later.
Well, there was one person in the BBC, and she's still working there as a newsreader, called Jackie Bird. And she used to jog every morning along Great Western Road. Then at the weekend, when a race would come on, a crowd of us would go either to Helensburgh, Dumbarton, or, you know, down to Ayrshire or what. And more or less every week, I used to beat Jackie, and she was just a young girl then, and she couldn't understand how an older man like me could beat her after all the training she was doing, you know. And we used to get a good laugh that way, you know.